Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kin, and today I'm going to be doing another video on my thoughts and opinions, and it is in a series called Chat with Kin, which is a podcast that I've made. So today is another episode, of course, and what I'm going to be talking about today is how friend groups naturally change over time and why that's okay. So without further ado, let's get on with this video. Okay, so before we start, I really want to make a little quick icebreaker for you guys. And I know that you're listening or watching to this video, so I just want you to make a mental image in your brain and to just really reflect and ponder on what I'm about to say. So now how this icebreaker works is that you create this picture in your mind. So for example, you have your phone, right? And of course, in order to unlock your phone, you have to use Face ID or your password. And once you open that, and of course, as a Gen Z, it is essential to have apps like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Messenger, and other apps that involve community. So now I want you to open one of those apps in your mind. So for me, an example is Messenger. And of course, scroll down and look and see if you can find some group chats you haven't opened or texted in a long time. And of course, as a community, when you check it, it's kind of like, oh man, it's been a while. It's been a while. And of course, when you check it, it's that everyone just stopped talking. And of course, your initial thought is like thinking about the memories, the old times, the past, how you guys used to be so close, and how you guys would text every single day with no end, and even probably have some Google Meets or Zoom calls, FaceTime, whatnot. And you just catch yourself thinking, like, where did the time go? Where did the time go? You know what I mean? So, yeah. Now, that was kind of a sad way to end the icebreaker, but I just want you to actually kind of reflect on what I've just given to you guys. So yeah, that was a little icebreaker. Let's get on to the topic, which is how friend groups naturally change over time and why that is okay. Of course, from a Gen Z POV. Okay, so the first point that I want to make is the classroom effect. Now, even though you have close friends or one group, just imagine one day you move to a new school, you don't know anyone, you're just an introvert now. Because probably at the last school you were an extrovert and you used to talk to so much people and have so many connections and maybe also real, genuine friendships. Now, that person was me. I moved schools at 14. I was grade 9. And in my old school, I was there from KG1 to grade 8. And then my parents just hit me with you're going to move to a new school. So I was like, wait, why? But then they were like, because your little sister, of course, is gonna move schools. I mean, not move schools, like start school. So I was like, okay. And I tried to act like as if I was okay. But then I remember that I was like, no, I don't want to move. Because, first of all, my best friend of 12 years was there. And then I had a bunch of other like friend groups that I really genuinely enjoyed having, quality time with. So, yeah. Now I moved to this new school. I don't know anyone. And I just sat in the classroom with a seatmate. And by the way, he is my friend right now. And yeah, school just started. I was really quiet, not like how I was before. And then he just started the conversation with a hi. I said hi back. And then so and so happened and we became friends. Now, how does this relate to my point? The classroom effect is actually like kind of a proximity bias. Now, if you're seatmates with someone or some, like two people, and you are forced, that's kind of a weird word, but like, let's just say you need to sit down with them every single day, 5 days a week on end, because you have school. And of course, you can't just ignore their presence or something. Like, you can't just, like, not talk to them because they're right beside you. And as a new student, of course, I didn't have anyone to talk to. So I just clinged onto that conversation and was like, I need to make a friend, at least a friend. So, yeah, that proximity bias is that when you are always like together, because, for different reasons, you naturally start to be intrigued by that person more and you actually get to have a genuine friendship. I don't think that's the word I wanted to say. You actually start to bond with that person and overall it becomes an actual friendship. So, yeah. Now, the second point I want to make is fast forward growth. Now, I know fast forward growth is a very broad term, but this is kind of like the way our brains work. See, us teenagers, especially if you're in that adolescent stage, of course you're going to be catching yourself consciously or subconsciously trying new things, experimenting different looks. And if you're a girl, experimenting with your makeup, your hair, and whatnot, and even with guys, their clothes, their personal style, even their personality. We are always changing and we are always becoming. And that is something that genuinely fascinates me because it's like, oh, this are like our peak years, and it's kind of like really intriguing because when you are in that stage of your life where you're finding out who you are, what you like, what you want to do, it is scientifically proven that our brains, teenage brains, genuinely move faster, mature faster than any single time in our life. Like, these years are our most formative years of development. Physically, emotionally, socially, mentally, spiritually. We are always absorbing information and we are always changing. So, of course, since our style, our music taste, our hobbies, and most of us change, it is super impossible for a whole group of friends to, change in the same way because, of course, everyone is always changing and improving in a different pace. And of course, even though you can relate to most things, like for example, memes, style, music taste, because you're probably asking me, like, Kin, how are you gonna be friends with someone that you have like no similarities with? Like, what do you even talk about? Like, I can't just fathom about that. But what I just want you to learn or to take advice from is that even though the outer or what they're telling us is like, oh yeah, I like this band too. Oh yeah, I really like this style. Oh yeah, I also love, anime like you. And just the similarities that they're telling you. We are genuinely just LARPers. Like, I get it. Some people are very, like, genuinely interested in those stuff. But I feel that, of course, since these are our formative years and that we're trying to learn how to express and to gain actual friends, we sometimes, like, kind of tend to people please because we want the validation from other people, if you get what I mean. And this is not just exclusively for teens, but this is also for the adults who are having, a hard time finding true friends because maybe you're just not being like true to yourself and true to your values, your morals, and your ethics, and even your personality, that the wrong people are coming to you because you're just LARPing your way to become friends with them. Because, not because, you genuinely want to become friends with them, but because you feel lonely. So, yeah. Now, the third point that I want to make is that time doesn't equal value. Now, if you've had a normal childhood, or, a very happy childhood, if I would say, you probably have a friend or a best friend whom you have been friends with for so long. I know this because I have one and she's still my best friend despite of our sometimes differences, and of course because we are not in the same school. And also, we don't really hang out that often, so I don't think that we are low key on the same page, but we still are each other's number one. Now, going back to my topic, even though that you have been friends, now going back to my point, even though that you have been friends or best friends with someone for a very long time, regardless if that is like 10 years, 15 years, or even 20 years, if you start drifting apart, it doesn't mean that, you can't just let go. Because I know most people are probably like, oh, I don't want to drift away from her because we have been friends for so long. I've invested so much of my time, number one, my energy, and I also probably sacrificed some of the things I like in order to be on the same page. If you know that you guys are on the verge of like having an FO or a friendship over moment and you've been friends for so long, that doesn't mean that time equals value. Now, if you're truly friends with this person and you love them so much, but they don't reciprocate the same feelings, that is not a friendship that you should value because that is one-sided. Same goes to relationships between couples. If, for example, your boyfriend just doesn't like you or is like, why am I with this person? But he just goes with the flow and you are like head over heels over this person. You love this person to death. But he doesn't show you the same energy, or, you know, he doesn't give you the same vibe, I don't think you could call that a valuable relationship. So, yeah. Now, what I mean to say with this is that you and your so-called best friend, if you're drifting apart, that doesn't mean that you have to cling onto the time that you've spent together and to just go and try to reconcile, to reconnect, or stuff like that, because the truth is, you don't have to be stuck with them forever. And that friendship is not giving you any value. You're not getting any like ROI, return of investment. In other words, it's not valuable. And all of the time that you've spent together doesn't really mean anything, to be honest. So yeah, that's why it's really important to find a person that has similar values to you. Like for me, I'm a Christian. And it's not to say that, oh, you can't be friends with different religions, like Catholics, Muslims, or maybe even atheist people. Because, yeah, I actually do have Catholic, Muslim friends. But it's just like, you have to be on the same page here in terms of like, you know, your values as a person, your emotional intelligence. You guys have to be on the same level. You have to be mature. Because if you don't find that specific someone in your life, or just a very good friend, you are going to have such a hard time. So yeah, that's why I'm okay with letting go some people in my life or drifting away from them, because I don't see any value, to be honest. So, number 4. This point is all about escaping the old you. Now, subconsciously, what I've, thought about is that your old friend groups, when I try to reconnect with them, and maybe you guys can relate to this, it's kind of like they're forcing you to act like the old you. But then again, time has passed, things have shifted, and you guys are drifting apart. And you can't just be like your old self anymore, and they also can't be who, they also were with you when you guys were hanging out, because as I've said again and again, we're always changing. And we will never stop changing. We are always striving to better ourselves and to improve ourselves. So when you are with these old friend groups, it is super easy to have misunderstandings and miscommunication, because they think that you're still the old you and you think that they're still the old them. That is why so many old friend groups really stop, like texting, because they've just changed naturally. And that's okay. Like, we genuinely need to accept that, oh yeah, we have to move on, because, we're gonna find other people in our life. And also, I believe that some people, no, people will, of course, go into your life for a purpose, and they will also leave when the purpose that they have fulfilled for you is done. Okay, so my last point is the quiet fade, I would say. So I just want you guys to accept with this 5 This fifth very short point is that drifting away from a friend or a group of friends is completely normal, and that you should have a certain peace that comes from you, that you're like, oh, they were really good friends of mine, and I'm glad that they have played a purpose in my life and how they've shaped me to be me, and how they've also helped me improve and help me grow. So yeah, and I guess you just have to be contented and accept that nobody was the bad guy, because time will be time, and it will always be time. You cannot stop time, you cannot pause time, you cannot change the time. It will go on and on and on and on and on and on. So yeah. And also, as a Christian, with reading the Bible, I have found a verse that suits this point very much, and it is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 in the NIV version. Now, it says that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. What a beautiful verse. And when I reflected on this, I was just like, it all makes sense now. Because to me, I believe that the Bible is a very alive thing. It's not just a book full of scriptures, but it is God breathed. God gave it to us to use it and to grow our wisdom instead of knowledge, worldly knowledge. He wants us to have that godly wisdom. And this verse is such a beautiful one to just really reflect and ponder on and get some wisdom from. And I just want to say that I view this as that God designs life in seasons. Just like how the seasons change over time, friendships fade and they change too. So it's totally okay if you find yourself drifting away from people you used to be very close with, and probably also a very close friend that you've been friends for a very long time. It's genuinely okay. And you just have to accept and be contented and grateful for what they have given to you and how they have shaped you as a person and how they've led you to change. So yeah, that's it for today's video. If you like this, please don't forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe. And if you have any more recommendations or suggestions for my videos, please don't be afraid to drop a comment down in the comment box below. So yeah, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and this is Chat with Kin. Bye!